Hi, I'm Clay Morad. I'm here today to talk about changing a tire. I'm with a group of mechanics, and this is for the George Mason University Knowledge Management course. So first thing that we're going to do is make sure that we've got all the different parts in place in order to change a tire. Normally your tire would probably be flat, but today we're just going to be popping this tire off and bringing a new one on. So what we want to do is make sure that we've got all the parts that we need. We've got our tire wrench here. If you've got a big one, that's great because it gives you some extra leverage. Most of the times though, your vehicle will come with a pretty small tire wrench and something to pry it off if you need to. And then you also need to make sure that you have your jack, and this is what we'll lift the car up with. And then lastly, if your car has a security feature on it, like lug nut bolts, you need to make sure that you've got the right part for that. And this little piece clips in to your wrench so that it'll actually fit on there and pull off. So with that, once we've got all the different parts laid out here, the next thing that we want to do is loosen up the lug nuts. And you want to do this while the car is still on the ground. Oftentimes when a mechanic will tighten up the lug nuts, which are these here, they'll use a machine, so you want to do it while you still got some friction on the ground to be able to loosen it. So we're just going to do it, pop it on, and just give it a turn or two. Just enough to loosen it up so that after we jack it up, we can pull the tire off. And loosen the rest of the lug nuts. You don't want to do it all the way because that's dangerous, because the tire could potentially fall off and the car could come crashing down. So, and you can see that this is much easier to use than a little one like this. You don't get the same leverage and it's a lot harder. So, if you've got a big tire iron, that's the way to go. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is actually jack up the car. Now, each jack is different, and you want to make sure that you get on the frame. My car, which is a Subaru, comes with a special jack, and you see that there's a little notch here. This notch actually fits in at a perfect point to be able to jack up your car. So we're going to slide it in, make sure that the notch is aligned, and then start jacking it up. Slowly, in the right spot, making sure that the notch falls into the groove. And momentarily we'll see the car start to rise. What you want to do is make sure that you get the car up high enough that the wheel has clearance. You also want to make sure that you're on a very sturdy area. Otherwise you run the risk of the jack falling off and potentially crushing you, which is bad. You don't need a lot of clearance, but you want enough to be able to give yourself some leverage to pull the tire off and squeeze it back on. An inch or two at most should be plenty. So, as you can see, the wheel is fully off the ground now with enough clearance to pull it out. Thanks. So the next thing we're going to do is remove all the lug nuts and pull the tire off. Now when you're removing the lug nuts, you don't just want to go around in a circle. You want to remove the lug nuts in such a way that you go across the way, and that way the tire won't just fall off unexpectedly. So we'll remove this one, then we'll remove this one. Make sure that you're not doing two adjacent ones right next to each other. So once all the lug nuts are off, you can pull the tire off, change it, and do whatever you need. The last thing that we're going to do, or one of the last things we're going to do, is put the tire back on. This is a very important step, obviously, and you want to make sure that you do it properly. So you can see the holes here where the bolts are going to go, and you want to make sure that those are lined up, and then put the lug nuts on in a similar fashion. So we'll get the tire in place. Line up the holes, which can be kind of difficult, and we'll lift the tire into place. And with the tire in place, just using your fingers, put the lug nuts back on. So now that we've tightened down the lug nuts with our fingers, we're going to use our tire jack again, or rather our tire iron, and tighten things up a bit. And again, it's turn it to the right to get it tightened down. And just, you're not looking to cinch it down all the way here, just enough to pull it in closer to the wheel. And as you can see, I'm going across. So I started here, and I'm going across. And now I jumped over to this one, and I'll go across again. Tighten that up. Okay. So now that we've tightened it as much as we can with it jacked up, we're going to lower the jack. And that's the next step. Okay. Now we're going to lower the car. And if you remember, we turned it to the right to get it to tighten up. So now we'll be spinning it to the left. It's usually a little bit easier to lower the jack than it is to raise it up. Okay folks, we're about done here. Last thing we're going to do is tighten things up and make sure that everything is really, really locked down. Otherwise you run the risk of things loosening up over time and your tire falling off. So as every other time, start with one, turn to the right, and make it as tight as you can. Go across, tighten it up, cross again, tighten it up, go across again, really get in there, and then across again. And then what I like to do is go around one last time and just make sure that everything is as tight and snug as it can get. And that is how you change your tire. Thanks.